Hello everybody, my name is Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. And today I'd like to talk to you a little bit around planning films and planning your own shoot for when you start getting out there and starting to do stuff. When you first begin, I was very much the same, you get this sort of feeling that you need to make everything perfect, that you need to make sure that you've got exactly the right best camera, the best equipment. You need to make sure that you've got all the right locations, get everything nailed beforehand, before you even hit record for the first thing. And I'd like to challenge that a little bit, and that you don't need to have everything planned out. Because plans fail. Every plan fails. You ever plan like a gathering with your friends? You ever realize just how difficult that is? Because your friends can be a pain in the ass, and they'll end up changing your plans because someone will go, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not free here. All that kind of stuff, and it'll end up just becoming a nightmare trying to get that done if you stick to such a rigid plan. I'm reminded again, I spoke about in another video, someone that I know who's been spending 2 years trying to organize a game of laser tag because he's so insistent on getting everything planned exactly right. And you're never going to get everything planned exactly right. You're never going to have everything turn out exactly the way you see it in your head, unless you have the resources to do that. If you've got, £100,000 to spend on like a very low budget type thing, sure, you can make what you want. But when you're working with the kind of £100, £200, maybe £1,000 budgets that I'm used to, you can't really approach film in that sort of traditional way. You need to start approaching it in some unconventional way where you can look at things differently, where you can look at things as they are. Like right now, I've got all these extras behind me. I don't know if you can see them actually, but there's people going up and down behind there. If this was a big budget shoot, for instance, like a £10 million thing, you might have people that are asked to walk around in the background, or you might have a restaurant scene where you get loads of extras to play people in the background pretending to have a conversation doing a bit of this. And the reason that they do that is so that when you want to combine multiple takes, because the reason they don't have people in the background having little conversations, which is what I always used to think they would do. I used to think that they scripted out conversations for the extras to say, and maybe those conversations would somehow help the theme of the film. If it's a film about death, maybe you'd have like a couple of extras in the background going, ooh, my grandma's, terminal, or whatever, And turns out they get them to mouth like this. I'm trying to say out a sentence, right? I just tried to say, my name is Johnny Mozer, and this is Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. And I feel like if you tried to dub it over, my name is Johnny Mozer, and this is Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, it's not going to fit over it, because isn't how people talk. And if you plan things out, I feel like you sterilize your film if you plan too much. It's the same way if you rehearse too much for your gig. You're going to get out there and you're not going to give the best performance. You'll have realized that your best performance of those songs was the time that you were in the basement beforehand with your bandmates, just performing the song again and again and again and again. And it would have been like one of the middle versions of the song. When you did it like 10 times, it would have been the fifth one would have been the best one. So if you try and perfect things, then you are going to end up with a worse product than if you just go with the flow. And what I've been doing the past few days is meeting up with a load of people that I've met via Mandy.com, which is a recruitment sort of site for connecting actors, filmmakers, directors, producers, cameramen, gaffers, everything like that. It's essentially a networking website, and I use it to try and get in touch with different people that have the same kind of mentality towards film that I do, and people that can go along with the flow, even if they don't have the same mentality, because I know that my way of doing things isn't the be-all and end-all. But I think for what your project is, you need to have your own be-all and end-all. So if I was to go and help those people that, like, if I go and help Neve, for instance, on her film, and she has a different mentality to doing film, which I'm sure she does, I would go along with her flow and go along with what she wants to do and go along with how she approaches film. And we would end up with two very different products. Even if we both took our crack at the exact same story, we would end up with two different things. Because we're different people, because we have different stories that led us to this point, and because we have different philosophies about the world and about ourselves and our place within the world, and different mentalities on what the purpose of entertainment is. Is entertainment there to make you think? Is it there to be escapism? Is it there to remind you of things in the real world as a commentary on the issues of the day? And these are all valid takes for different things, And it's very important, I think, for you to know your voice. If you know your voice, then you're going to get a way better end product, even if you don't have the best camera, even if you don't have professional actors, even if you don't have a crew that knows what they're doing and they're like, slack-jawed layabouts that you met through, your film university. You're going to end up with a good product because you have an extremely vivid idea of what to do and how to do it. And because you know how to get the results that you want, you can get them. If you don't know how to get what you want, then there's no point in doing this, because you're going to end up with a product that's essentially kind of the same thing as when you get like a boardroom and they'll all have different ideas of what you should be doing. I want this film to have a little love B-plot, and I think this film we should insert an action scene here, and what's this saying? A camel is a horse designed by committee. And that's when money's involved. If you don't know what you're doing and you're allowing other people to essentially invade your vision, then you're going to end up with a camel without the financial backing and the payday at the end of it. That is the reason that people make those kind of films. The reason that people sign on to these huge $200 million budget Hollywood films without any real creative control is because they get a payday out of it, and they can then use those paydays sometimes to go off and support themselves while they create genuine artistic expressions. Or maybe it's they want an extension on their house in Hawaii or whatever. That is why they do it. And if you're going out there and are unsure of what you want, then you're going to end up with a crap product, no matter if you're filming with an Arri Alexa or like an iPhone 5S, right? You will end up with the same filtered down, sterile end result. That means you might as well not have bothered trying to express yourself artistically. So I would say that whilst I don't think planning is important and I think you should go with the flow, I also am a firm believer in knowing what you want. Sometimes there'll be a shot in front of me and I think that is a gorgeous shot, but I won't get it because I have no need for it. It doesn't fit with what I am trying to do. And so I go and find a different shot that might even not look, technically as good. It might not be, gorgeous vistas like that. Well, it's not really a gorgeous vista, is it? It's a Millennium bloody wheel. But you end up with something that helps progress your story in a more interesting way. I used to, when I was younger and first getting involved in film, I didn't really know what my stories were about. And I struggled to explain them to people. And I was always stumbling over my own stories. And it ended up resulting in these films that feel like this weird mishmash of ideas that, could have been interesting if someone had, taken me aside and just gone, you need to focus this down on a particular idea, a particular vision. You're trying to get everything and you can't. And when you're working with these kind of low budgets, like what I'm doing and like what you're likely doing as well, you need to have that vision, because that vision is worth more than $200 million. It's worth more than your own time. There's no point in spending all your time and your money and your mental well-being, because that's what you're doing. A long, intensive film journey that you go on is sacrificing a bit of your own mental well-being for the sake of art. Like when I did my last film, Sheffield Psychedelic, I sacrificed a lot of my mental well-being, way too much. It caused a lot of problems in my life. And for the end result, it's not a film that I'm particularly proud of. I'm proud of what we did, and I'm proud of getting everyone together to do this thing, and I'm proud of what I learned from that experience. And the end result is fun, but I feel like it's laughing at it fun, not laughing with it fun. And I feel like if I had done that film now, I would have done it so differently. And it is essentially a snapshot of your own life in that moment of, and you know, of your own state of maturity, because maturity isn't a linear curve. You know, it's not like the older you get, the more mature you get. There was a period last year where I was less mature than I was about 8 years ago, because of the life circumstances that you're in. That's what matters. You know, I was going through some issues that I'm not going to get into, but because of that, because my mind was so clouded, it meant that I was less able to practice maturity compared to, say, 8 years ago when I was a lot more stable as a human being. And if you try and treat maturity like it's a linear curve, you're going to end up having a hard time with life, because you're going to find out, you're going to have that challenge a lot. And the reason that I do film, and the reason that despite going through all of that shit, I'm bouncing myself, I'm diving back into it and going back into the fray and putting myself back through that same pain, is because this time I have a vision. I have something so concrete that I want to get across. And right now I am getting it across. I'm getting across to you that planning isn't everything. I haven't planned this. I haven't even got notes. I haven't got a script. I haven't got notes. I didn't even know where I was going to film this. I didn't even know that I was going to film this. I just knew that this was a cool location, and I thought I could sit here and talk to the camera. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about. I did one take where it was a bit naff, so I stopped it and I figured, all right, I'm going to talk about the idea of planning. And the idea of planning, you know, I'm not saying, by the way, that never do any planning whatsoever. Obviously, you need to plan, like, you know, what time you're going to be at your location, and, like, you know, if you want a restaurant and you need to go talk to a restaurant owner and get their permission, or, you know, if you don't want to get their permission, you need to find a way that you're going to do it without getting permission. In my case, it's going to be shooting it from outside the restaurant and having them in the window. And also for something like that, that means that we need to get there a bit earlier so that we can make sure that the table that I want is free. So, you know, you're planning all these little details, but you're not paralyzing yourself through the plan, and you're not letting the plan override the moment, I think, is the most important thing. Don't let the plan override the moment, because if you're doing that, then you're essentially trying to catch lightning in a bottle with a fishing net, and you're never going to catch it. You're just going to burn your net, which I don't think is the way to do film. I think, having been on large film sets, I don't feel like it's a true expression of art. I feel like it's an expression of business interests. You know how paintings can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's essentially a tax avoidance scheme? That's what films are. These big budget films, they are a tax avoidance scheme. And it works. It certainly works, because none of these films make a profit. You know, Return of the Jedi never made a profit. It's a Star Wars fucking movie. It was the third Star Wars movie when everyone was so excited for it, you know? It never made a profit, so that meant that it never had to pay off its, pay its director. It never had to pay the main actors, like the percentage of the film, and as a result, there were tax benefits that came towards them that they were able to take advantage of and then not pay back into the system. And I don't think that film should be this business corporate thing. I think that film should be about personal expression, the same way that an author sits down to pen their novel. I think a film director should sit down, call everyone that they can, get the resources that they can, and then just get to the set with their idea and make it. And don't let plans get in the way of what you want to do, because you can do it. You've got the ability within you to do it. I'm not like a people person particularly. I'm not someone that can like just rock up and charm someone into giving me what they want. But what I do have is this ability to somehow bring people together for a singular purpose, a singular vision. And in the past, I didn't even know what my vision totally was. It was locked like that, when you should be locked like that, right? And now I feel like I am locked like that, okay? Particularly because the way that I want to do this film, even though I've been scripting it, I stopped writing the script actually because I don't want to script it. I want to film it fairly chronologically, not completely chronologically, but more or less chronologically. That way, when we turn up to a set, I know what the context of the film is so far, and I know what I need to get out of the scene, because those are the most important things. And when you try and mishmash all these different things and film it out of sequence, that's when the plan becomes so much more intrinsic, because it's so easy to get it wrong. That's when hair length starts coming into the equation. That's when, you know, say someone that you know needs to go like is getting I don't know, like surgery for their face, and then they turn up 6 months later. I had it with someone on a film where we were doing some reshoots, and the hair's completely different. You know, you don't have this control over people, especially when you're this low budget, because I'm not paying him. I don't have control over his life and what hair he has, you know. So it's my fault for not making something that's feasible. And we ended up creating something that, you know, is desperately clinging on to the idea when you shouldn't be desperate. You should be, you know, confident and consistent, and just having fun as well. You should be having fun with it. If you're not having fun with it, then stop, because I don't think that you're going to be making something that you're going to look back on and think that all that misery was worth it. And I know I've said that I went through pain and hardship to make a film, because making a film isn't easy. It's not an easy process. It is difficult. Sometimes you have to get up early. Sometimes you have to have late nights. Sometimes you're stuck in central London for 3 hours while you're in between interviewing 2 people, which is my situation now. I've just gone to speak to Neve, and now I'm going to wait for someone called Camilla. So, yeah, that's essentially what I'm talking about with regard to film. Am I all right to film here, by the way? Is it? I'll take it. Is this all right to film here?
Sorry?
Is this all right to film here?
I think so. What are you filming?
I'm just filming a piece to camera, so I can move it if it's in the way or anything like that.
What is it about?
Well, I'm working on a film at the moment, just a little sort of indie sort of film. So I'm just doing little pieces to camera where I'm just describing the process along the way. Just 'cause I'm waiting for actors to show up, and I'm just here early, so I've got the camera. I figured do something, you know. Yeah.
I don't think it's a problem. They'll soon tell me if there is.
All right. I'm about to finish anyway, so I'll be out of your hair as well. All right. Thank you so much. I think with that, I'm gonna love you. And I hate that phrase. I don't know why I keep saying that phrase. That was unplanned. That was, you know, you've gotten a little bit of life in that, and that's probably taught you more than what I've been doing, because that's the way you approach things. Be nice. Be, you know, confident at the same time. Although I don't think I was particularly confident with that, with the way I said, oh, it's a little indie film. It's like, why am I underselling it? I mean, it's not that she cares what it is, but I'm just, where was I? Yeah, just go out there and do it. Do something now. When you finish this video, make some dog shit in your bedroom or your living room or your garden, and just have a bit of fun with it. Try and make something that's maybe got a bit of a vibe, and just, even if you just use your phone and then you take it into the editing suite and you crank all the colors like to mad like contrast, and so it's really stylized. Just, you know, try something. And in doing, you learn. You don't learn from studying other films, because you weren't on those sets. You don't know what was going through Quentin Tarantino's head when he was doing Pulp Fiction. You can listen to his interviews, but those interviews aren't necessarily what he was thinking there, because there'll be shit that he doesn't want to talk about. There's stuff that I don't talk to you about because it's personal. And there's stuff that Quentin Tarantino also won't, because that's personal to him. And you can't, someone is really, they're putting me off because they're ranting about borderline personality disorder. Shut up. I'm trying to do a video. He's not over there, he's way off in the distance, and you might even be able to hear him. Look, I'm gonna say goodbye for now, because I think you've gotten the general idea. It's better to go and try and fail than it is to not try and live in ignorance over whether that thing might have worked. You know, just do stuff, try it, and if it falls flat on its face, it does, and you've made a load of shite, and that's fine. And then you go and make another load of shite and another load of shite, and with each load of shite you make, you're gonna understand what you're doing more, and you're gonna get an idea, and you're gonna have fun with it. And if you're not, then you'll find another hobby that helps you out. For me, whilst yes, I do make my living off of like events and videography gigs and stuff like that, this filmmaking side of things, where I go and direct things, is a hobby. The way that people might spend money on model trains, I spend money on making films, and I love it, and I'm gonna do it again and again and again until I'm sick of it. So thank you so much for listening to me ramble on, and I will take my leave. I'm gonna pretend to walk off screen, and then I'm gonna come back around and then pick the camera up. There we are. You can still hear me. All right. It's gonna turn off soon. It's gonna turn off. Is the video gonna end now? Not yet. How about now? That was fun.